Hello everyone, this is Mohammed Mahdi, Product Management Engineer for Access Security. A key element to F5 APM wide range of use cases has always been the ease of integration with technology partners. Not only F5 APM own capabilities, but extending technology partners' capabilities as well make a more robust and flexible use cases. This ease of integration and flexibility make it easy for organizations to make the best out of their security investments. Today, we will go through some of the common use cases with F5 APM and Microsoft Cloud. In today's video, we will go through three main examples. F5 APM as a service provider, where Azure AD is an identity provider. The second one will be F5 APM with Azure AD conditional access. The third one will be leveraging Microsoft Intune with F5 APM. We'll explore the use of single sign-on as well. In our case, we will use Kerberos for now, for today's video. So stay tuned. So in this use case, we are going to deploy F5 APM as a service provider. So for, using our access guided configuration, it provides us a smooth and easy way to do the initial configuration. So in the access guided configuration, we go for federation and then service provider. So now let's go through the application steps. Here it is. So we start with the service provider settings. This is our entity ID. We have the host scheme, and then we select our certificate for signing the assertion requests, and we import here or add here the certificate we got from Azure portal for the assertion decryption. So moving to the virtual server settings, and then the IDP connector. For IDP connector, we have multiple options. We can create the template for Azure AD, or we can import the metadata we got from Azure portal. We have it here, and we have the signing certificate we obtained as well. We select the pool which will forward the traffic to. We have our single sign-on settings. We have, in our case, we are using Kerberos. So those are the parameters for Kerberos. And then if required, we can apply an endpoint checks so that we inspect the client machine before connecting to the application. So this, of course, is an optional step. And then we have the session management parameters. Once we complete this, we deploy our application. And now we will move to testing the application. Now, let's go through our second example using F5 APM and Azure AD conditional access. You'll find that most of it very much similar to the first example. Yet, in this one, we are able to import the conditional access policies created in Azure portal so that we can control it from a centralized location, which is F5 APM. We can assign or remove policies as required by user groups or whatever criteria we need to match on. F5 Access Guide configuration provides an easy and smooth way to configure our Azure AD integration. So we will we will select Microsoft Azure AD integration, and we will start filling the information required for the virtual server, service provider, and identity provider, which is in our case, it's Azure AD. We will get the information for the tenant ID, application ID, and the application secret from Azure Portal. Under the identity provider settings, which is in our case Azure AD, we can select the allowed users and user groups to access our application. And the conditional policies configured at Azure Portal as well. They are now viewed through APM dashboard, and we can select to include or exclude them. And now with our third example with us, which is when we will use Microsoft Intune and APM to extend the compliance checks done at the endpoint to securing the VPN access.
Let's have a look on the flow, on the workflow to understand the different steps needed before granting an access to an SSL VPN gateway. So first of all, I have a user, a user with different authentication factor, first factor, second factor. In my case, it will be username, password, plus an MFA from the Microsoft Authenticator application, a push notification. I have a laptop, enroll in Intune, and this device at the moment is compliant, and we will check why the device is compliant. And on the right side, here we have an APM, an SSL VPN gateway. And I only want to grant access, to open access to the internal resources if the device is compliant, if the user passes the two-factor authentication. So, first of all, every X minutes, there is an asynchronous communication between my Windows 10 device and Intune. So Windows 10 every time send notification to Intune to tell I'm compliant, I'm not compliant. This is my status at the moment. My firewall is enabled, my firewall is disabled. In my demo, the compliance is based on firewall enabled or not. This is my conditional access policies and the compliance policy. So this is asynchronous, it's on the side. When the user wants to authenticate against Azure AD and wants to connect the F5 access client to the APM, SSL gateway, the user will be prompted against Azure AD. So Azure AD represents a login page for username, a login page for password, and an MFA if I want. If I have a conditional access who tells I want a second factor authentication and I want a device compliant, the Azure AD will make this control. So the user will authenticate against Azure AD with one factor, second factor, and if the device is compliant, and only the device is compliant, the device will receive, it will be a kind of push from Azure AD to the Windows 10, will receive a user certificate, but temporary user certificate. The time life of this certificate is 60 minutes, 1 hour. And this certificate will be used to authenticate against the SSL VPN gateway. So APM is not aware of any compliancy. So APM is not doing compliancy check. APM relies 100% to Azure AD, and the F5 access client has the framework to use in order to provide the right information to Azure AD and to get this certificate. So the first factor authentication is username and password. The second can be an MFA, an SMS, something that Azure AD supports. And the outcome is a certificate. Okay, so the device receives a certificate for 1 hour, and this certificate can be used during 1 hour to authenticate against the gateway. So let's do the demo now. So let's click on connect. Okay, so you can see here, this is a pop-up telling me, please authenticate against Azure AD. So this is a cookie, okay, so I can use or reuse MFA, but this is just the name. I'm not logged on or logged in. So I select MFA, this is my account. It asks me for a password. I love mama, $. I sign in. First factor. Then here you can see second factor authentication. So on my phone, I have to approve the notification. Yes, approve. Okay. So far, so go Face ID. Try Face ID again. Perfect. So, as you can see here, verifying your signing information. This is where the Windows 10 communicate with Intune and Azure AD and say, okay, are you compliant? Yes, you are compliant. Please give to me a temporary certificate, user certificate. So now here, so first of all, I'm connected, but here, if I refresh my store, certificate store, have a certificate, as you can see, from today, valid for 1 hour, for 60 minutes, more or less. Okay, have a look. Valid from 8/29, valid to 9/34. Okay, you see it's 8/34 to 9/34. So now I have a certificate. So this is a trick to enable SSL VPN with conditional access and Azure AD and Intune. Okay, so now I'm connected. If I'm disconnected, I can reconnect because my certificate is still valid. If I am disconnected after 2 hours, because as long as the session is up, there is no check, okay? But if I'm disconnected after 2 hours, the certificate will be wrong. So by design, by default, F5 Access will request a new certificate, will present the new device compliancy, and will get a new certificate, and you will be connected. This is how it works. I hope you enjoy this demo, and see you soon for the next demo.